Hi guys, it's Michelle Jones live in Cuppa with Michelle. How are you all today? Let's just double check and make sure that we are on. Let me just refresh this. There we go. Okay, it's always important to just double check and make sure that you guys are seeing exactly what I'm seeing here as well. Volume's down so there's no distraction. So how is everyone today? And I hope you've grabbed your cup of coffee or cup of tea or even your glass of water. So let us have a bit of a chat and let's talk about the brain. You know, in my practice, I usually hear people say stuff like, oh, I'm starting to lose short-term memory, or I'm having a hard time concentrating, or even there's difficulty in concentrating. Concentrating, memorizing, and remembering are the three things that people usually worry about, or they may struggle with, depending on their issues, their age, and what is happening in their body. So a lot of the times when people have headaches, they also say, oh, could I take a Panadol or paracetamol or something that can actually relieve the inflammation that's happening in my head or the headache? And I always say, how much water have you drank today? Now, very few people realize that when you haven't drank enough water, you have a massive headache. That's because, as I said in the introduction of this Cuppa with Michelle, we are made of mostly water, and our brain is about 78% water. Is that what I said there? Let me just double check that. I might have said 73. Okay, now I can't see it now. But it's about that. A lot of people make different estimates, and the thing that I find interesting is, used to be they'd say our body was 80% water. And then that became our body 75% water. Then that became 73%. Then now 70. And in some cases, I've actually read it saying our body is 65% water. Now, why is that? Is it really because as our generation improves, or as the next generations come to life, we've mutated to having less water? Is that what's happened? I don't think so, and I don't believe so. I think what's happening is, on the average, people are just now drinking less water. So why is that? Before I ask that question, how many of you here today are actually with a glass of water? When you're drinking a cup of coffee, and here's my cup, or a caffeinated drink like tea, or even alcohol, these drinks are dehydrating. Now, when you're drinking your cup of coffee, make sure that you actually have a glass of water that goes with it, because you will now replenish the water that's come out of your system, or that your water is pushing out because of that dehydrating drink. So the water doesn't just disappear. Coffee, caffeinated drinks like tea, or even alcohol encourages your system to actually flush out toxins from your body, because these drinks can be difficult for the liver to process. So to be able to process it properly, the liver needs water, the liver needs to flush out those toxins. So when you're drinking your coffee or your dehydrating drinks, make sure you have your glass of water. I've just realized I've invited a few people who might want to join me today. Let me just quickly check if I've heard from them. Okay. I don't think so. All right. So where are you joining me from, and what are you joining me with? Please type that up. Let me know where you're joining from, and if you've got a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. Meantime, I'm going to see if there's any messages here. If you're joining me from my personal Facebook page, your messages don't come out on my chat here. But if you're joining me from my Michelle T. Jones page, my business page, then I will see the comments that you type up. So just type away, and wherever you're joining me from, I promise I will acknowledge when you do write something. Okay, cool. I've got someone. Hey, Patricia, thank you. Thank you for joining me. I can see you, and thumbs up to you too. Hey, Seattle Frank. Oh, thank you. Yes, this is the first time I've actually tried using a green screen. So thank you. I wanted to actually share my view outside the window because I'm here in Jakarta and it's a very nice, clear day. Unfortunately, I don't have the setup and the lighting that will actually allow you to see both myself and my background. So if any of you can actually help me resolve that issue, oh, I am so excited to find out what I can do. I've got all this lighting equipment, but yeah, they're not strong enough to actually allow me to sit in front of my window so that you can see my view, which I really love to share with everyone. When I'm sitting on my desk, when I'm working, I'm actually facing the view because I always find it easier to think when I don't feel like I'm in an enclosed space. And when you're listening to someone and you don't have a very nice view, like what I did with my Cuppa with Michelle last week, it isn't quite as enticing as having a very nice view like this one on the green screen. So thanks for noticing, Frank. Yes, thank you, Patricia from Singapore. Anyways, I'm joining you from Jakarta, Indonesia. That's my cup. Okay, so let's talk about the brain. If the brain is truly that much water, if it's 73 to 78% water, what happens then if you don't drink enough water? What happens to people who think that they would rather have something tasty in their mouth? I've had patients who've said, I prefer something tasty, so a cordial or soft drinks or sparkling water. Now, when you are when you're not careful what type of drink you have and you're not careful how much water you're drinking, what you're doing is you're actually not allowing your brain to work optimally. You're not allowing your brain cells to grow and proliferate healthily, if there's such a word as healthily. But what it is if you're not providing the brain the nutrients it needs, the oxygen it needs, and the water that it needs, it can't work optimally. It can't allow you to remember things. It can't allow you to be able to concentrate properly. It will start affecting, your short term first, and then your long term memory. And you don't want that to happen because in anything that you're doing, your brain function is really important. Remember, aside from the fact that your brain takes care of what you remember, how you plan your day, how you communicate, it also runs different processes and functions in your body. Your brain is basically your brain and your spine, your spinal cord, your spinal fluid, all that is part of what you call your central nervous system. And that's what runs the show, what runs this body. You're not going to be able to move your limbs, or you're not going to be able to send off signals to your body when there's something that's going on if your brain's not functioning properly. So the brain is really important. If you just remember that function and the importance of the brain, then you'll also remember that you can't just say, well, I don't feel like drinking, or well, I'm not thirsty. There is an amount that your body needs. If you don't provide it or replenish the amount that you're expending, then your body can't function well. Simple as that. It's like your car. If the gas hits empty, can you still run your car? If you want your car running smoothly, you have to have the oil that the car needs. So you need to have the water that the car needs. If any of those depletes or goes down to its optimal level, then your car can't function optimally as well. There are different varieties of gas. There's the leaded, unleaded, super unleaded, and all that. Depending on what you put in your car also dictates how well or how smooth your car performs. So in one of the posts that I'm bringing out today, I actually say you have to take into account how much water you're drinking to replenish all the water that you're expending, but you also have to take into account what type of water you're drinking. Now, there are different types of water. I've just mentioned a few. I mentioned sparkling water. I mentioned flavored water. There's a lot of flavored drinks out right now. There's also bottled water. There's filtered water. There's ionized water. There's alkalinized water. Depending on the water that you put inside your body will dictate how well the cells of your body will grow, how well the cells of your body will proliferate, and how well the cells of your body will stay and remain alive. Now, there is cell life. The problem is if you don't provide the cells of your body with the nutrients and the tools it needs. I say tools because when you say water, it's not exactly a nutrient, right? Or oxygen, it's not exactly a nutrient. So when you provide your body with all the nutrients it needs, all the cells can mature properly. They can duplicate properly. They can proliferate properly, and they can allow for the functions in your body to function optimally. If you don't provide it what it needs, or you provide it inferior quality stuff, like let's just say tap water. I always say tap water is the worst thing that you can give yourself, because tap water does not have the nutrients. It doesn't have the tools your body needs in water. Tap water has all sorts of stuff in it. Before the water gets to your tap, it's come from the ocean, the rivers, that goes through the pipes to the reservoir, the dam. It gets cleaned and sterilized with chemicals in the dam before it now is considered good enough to put into your tap. But in your tap, if you look at what components are in your water, you'll be able to find out that aside from the chlorine, the fluoride that we so commonly hear about, there are other additives in the water. There have been some instances in Queensland where levels of E. coli in the water were higher than normal. So they had issues of people getting sick, getting hospitalized. This has happened in the US. It's happened in other countries as well. And this happens because there is E. coli in the rivers. There is E. coli in where the water comes from. And depending on the status of the pipes where the water goes through, going to the reservoir and going into your home will dictate whether or not there will be more E. coli as it goes through the system and into your tap. And it will also dictate how much more cleaning, how much more chemicals have to be put into your water. So your water's got chemicals in it. Your water still has pests in it, probably in better and lower quantities. That's not considered toxic. But anything that accumulates in your system eventually becomes toxic if you don't watch out for it, if you don't take care of what you're putting in your system. So keep that in mind. I am very thankful to have lived in Australia, and Australia is still home for us. It's our home base. I'm very thankful that our water there is much cleaner, but we still don't drink water from the tap. We actually have a Kangen machine. It's a medical grade ionizer. What it does is it still filters the water. After it filters the water, it ionizes the water, which means it now creates a high alkaline pH water, which is healthier for our system. It also creates high antioxidant water because of the levels of hydrogen and because of the levels of oxygen in the water. Now, whenever you ionize water, whenever it goes through that process, it always will give you high antioxidants. What differs from ionizer to ionizer is how long it stays in that level. Now, as I said previously, the Kangen machine is a medical grade machine. It's produced by a company that's been granted medical grade status, because originally these machines were designed for hospital use. And that's what that came from. Now, we're very lucky that the machines are now created for commercial purposes, so we're able to have it in our homes. So we have set up Kangen machines in our homes, in our children's homes, in our parents' homes. And we travel with a Kangen machine when we travel to Bali, to Phuket, to Thailand, to places where we know that the water isn't the best, right? And when we don't know who we can ask water from. So in the US, my mom's got a Kangen machine. So when I do fly to the US, I don't have to have a machine with me. My daughter, who's also in the US right now, also has a Kangen machine. So whenever I go to a place where I know I'm able to ask for water, I'm safe, I don't travel with a machine. But if I know I can't find anyone with a machine, then I always travel with mine. Why? Because my body is important to me, my brain is important to me, and all the different organ systems in my body that requires good quality water is important to me. What about you? Is your body important to you? Is how you function important to you? Is how your brain or how long your brain functions important to you? I'd like to know. Share your answer. Let me know what you're thinking. I've had a friend. He was actually the finance director in the company that I used to work for when I was much younger. And he had this disorder. If I'm not mistaken, it was some sort of encephalitis. Now, he started losing mobility. So he was losing function of his arm and his legs, and eventually was having a hard time swallowing. But what he took comfort in was his brain was fully functional. He was a very smart man. He was one of the smartest people I've ever met. And it was just, although it was sad to think that he didn't have full function of his body, it would have even been worse to think that he didn't have function of his brain. Would you want that to happen? I don't think anyone wants that. I have an aunt that's had dementia, and I've met people with Alzheimer. That is heartbreaking, because though you have full function of your body, you have full function of your processes, you have full function of your limbs, you don't have full function of your brain. So don't wait for things like that to happen. Start nurturing your body systems, your organ systems. Start providing it what it needs. If you know for a fact, if science has told us since we were little, since we were in school, that our body is mostly water, why is it that water is the very last thing that people think about? I've heard people say, "Oh, what's the best food to eat? What's the best diet to adapt?" I'm very conscious. I read all the ingredients in my food. When was the last time you read the ingredients in your water? When was the last time you checked what type of water you were drinking? When was the last time you ever tried to understand water? If your body is truly important to you, I think more than anything, that's what you need to consider. Sure, eat healthy, but eating healthy is simple. Just start from the basics. Have fresh fruits, fresh veggies, right? If you're a meat eater, then have freshly cut meat from the butcher. Don't get meat that's been frozen, right? Eat fresh fish rather than, again, frozen fish. The fresher your foods, the fresher your veggies, the fresher your produce, the more nutrients it has for you. The simpler you prepare them, the more nutrients are left in the food that you're eating. When you start putting all the sauces and the sugars and the salts, when you cook them too long, you start getting rid of a lot of the nutrients. So food is easy. We just like complicating it and putting names and what have you into what we need to put in our system. A gluten-free diet. A lot of people are saying, I need to be gluten-free. You know how simple that is? Have your veggies, have your fruit, eat them fresh. Don't put anything processed. Don't make bread. Don't make cakes. Don't make biscuits. Don't put batter on your meats or on your veggies. Then you're gluten-free, right? Eat simply. Use your herbs. Don't use, some people say, well, soy sauce has got gluten. Well, then don't use soy sauce. Use your herbs. Plant your food in your garden and use what's in your garden and feed your body. So see how simple food is. Now, water, that's not simple. Depending on where you live, depending on your state, depending on how the government agency or that entity that cleans your water does it, will dictate how much chemicals are in your water and how toxic your water can be. I say toxic because here in Indonesia, here in Jakarta, we can't drink tap water because tap water is toxic. So you can't drink that water. You have to figure out how to filter it properly. So we have in our filter system, we've got a 3-step filter. We also have a UV system to kill all the bacteria. Then after all that is done, it's all fed into a Kangen machine again to refilter it another time and to ionize the water. So we have, again, high antioxidant, high alkaline, and microclustered water. So water that the body can actually absorb properly, that can rebuild the body, that can put in the nutrients and the tools the body needs to actually perform optimally. So again, when was the last time you did that? If you've never tried checking your water, let me show you how to do it. Actually, just Google it online and say, what do I always Google? I Google stuff like what's in, let's just say, Jakarta water or what's in Brisbane water. And once you type that up, it will give you a list of the water treatment centers that take care of your water, because your water or whatever comes out of it has to be reported. They have to report what's happening with those catchments, what they're putting in the water, how clean are the water or how dirty are they. In places like Jakarta, the Philippines, Papua New Guinea, where I've lived, when you Google it and you check the water, it will actually say what level of cleanliness the water is in and what you can use the water for. So make sure you do that. If you've been careful with everything else, then start researching and understanding your water. Okay, just checking for questions. All right. So, I'm curious. Let me know whether you're watching this later on the replay or you're watching it live right now. Let me know if you've ever taken the time out to test your water. Because if you can't Google it, that's the next thing you can do. Actually test the water. I live in an apartment. The apartment actually has their own filter system. So the water that comes out of my apartment and the water that comes out in home may be different. Depending on the apartment that you live in, each apartment have their own procedures as well. So if you really want to know what's in your water, the best thing to do is actually test that water. Okay, I've got a question here. As a trailing spouse, I've watched your other videos. Do you feel that you have to drink the same amount of water based on where you stay or the weather at the time? That's a very good question. Thank you, Connie. When it's winter and it's very, very cold, you don't feel as thirsty as when you're in a warm place like Indonesia or Bali. For that matter, Bali is very humid, so you're sweating so much and you're feeling thirsty very quickly. When it's a drier heat, your lips start drying faster than you actually start feeling thirsty. Now, In either case, no matter where you are, you still lose water. In Australia, when it's winter, or in the US, and they're heading towards winter now, despite the cold, you still lose water, because when it's cold, we have all the heating in place. When you're in a heated environment, your the water on your skin starts evaporating with the heat. Okay. The same way, if you're in warm places like Jakarta or the Philippines or um, Malaysia, when it's hot, you go into your home where you have the air conditioning up, and when you're in air conditioning, again, your body pulls out the environment, or the heat, or the cold, the heating or the cooling actually pulls out liquids from your skin. So it's like, um, instead of perspiring, it pulls out your the liquid on your skin actually evaporates. So you're losing water despite you thinking, well, I'm not really sweating. So no matter where I am, I follow one rule. I drink as regularly as I can. And I drink at least a glass of water every couple of hours. I always have a water on my desk. And if I've run an hour and I haven't drank anything, I drink. If it's extremely hot and it's you're walking, or you're shopping and you're sweating, then you have to drink more than just a glass per couple of hours. You literally drink a glass per hour. If you're working out, a couple of glasses at the end of your workout, and sip water throughout the workout. So you have to look at how you can design, or how you can program your water intake. The idea is, no matter where you live, the amount of water in your body stays the same. Your water requirement stays the same. You still need to drink water. The only difference will be the frequency of you drinking the water, and if you're exercising, obviously you have to drink more water. When you're drinking coffee, tea, or alcohol, right after you drink that, even if it's not in your 2 hour mark or your 1 hour mark, you drink another glass of water. So again, as I said, I've got my cup of coffee, my little espresso cup of coffee. Okay, so we're not talking about a big mug, and I have my glass of Kangen water. So if you have a big mug, then you drink a couple of glasses of water. Okay, so thanks for your question, Connie. So it really is about you starting to learn the value of water for your body. If you don't realize it, you don't think about it. But when you start realizing and educating yourself about what your body needs, then you start being aware that you need to provide it the tools that it needs as well. Okay? All right. So who among you are finding that at certain times of the day, your eye gets blurry, or your eye gets dry? I'd like to know if any of you are suffering from the dry eyes, or even if you find that at the end of the day, your vision starts getting blurrier. It isn't as clear as when you've started your day. Let me know. You can type it on the comments. Hey, Kelly, how are you? Thanks for joining me from the US, right, Kelly? Okay, so if you're experiencing dry eyes, the other thing that you have to remember is your eye is directly linked to your brain. Your eye is one of the closest organs of your body that's linked to your brain. If you are not well hydrated and your water levels in your brain is lower than optimal, one of the first things that happen is your vision starts getting blurry. People say, oh, you're just tired. You're just not well hydrated. When you start feeling like it's blurry or it's dry, it all is about hydration. Dry. Hydrate. When your skin is too dry and you you use your nails and create a line, like a white line comes out when your skin is dry. Hydrate. I remember when we were in school, and as soon as we did that, we'd put lotion because that's what we were taught, that you have to actually lubricate. But lubrication of your skin can be done internally by hydrating. Again, remember, you're mostly water. So every single organ system of our body needs water. Our brain is what, about 75, 78% water. Our blood is 85% water. Or is it 90% water? I can't remember anymore. But they all need water. If you don't provide it the water that it needs, it can't function properly. If you're not moving your bowels effectively, you probably are dehydrated. Again, your gut needs water to process the food during digestion. Your liver needs water to push out bile during digestion and to be able to eliminate effectively and easily. Hydration is important. So there's so many things that you need for your brain to function properly. Remember, there's also this thing called the gut-brain barrier. We haven't even gone there. So, however, the status is of your gut and is the status of your brain, and vice versa. Again, both these organs need water. If you don't provide it what it needs the most of, it cannot function optimally. So I think I leave you guys with that. I'd like to hear from you and see if you've, learned something new today, or had an aha moment about your body, or if you've decided to change the way you're drinking. I'd love to hear from you. If you want to ask about Kangen machines and Kangen water, I am an independent distributor of Enagic, and I do distribute Kangen water. And we can give you information. You can actually go to Kangen Melbourne and Canberra on Facebook. You can also go to kangencanberra.com website. So Kangen is Kangen. Canberra is Canberra. And then it's just .com, kangencanberra.com. Or on Facebook, it's Kangen Melbourne and Canberra. So I'll put the links on the end of this video, on the bottom description of the video. So please check it out if you want to learn more about your water. I've also shared over there some readings of what's in the water for certain countries. So I hope you enjoyed our cuppa today. Have a great day, everyone. And again, after your cuppa, don't forget to drink your water. Let's start teaching ourselves and our whole family the correct way of drinking water. A glass per couple of hours, or if it's truly hot, a glass an hour would actually be a very good idea. Oh, and also, it'll depend on how big your glass is. If you're drinking small glasses, then you're probably better off having a glass every hour. And again, think of what your body needs, provide it everything it needs if you want it to function optimally for you. After all, anti-aging means living at the most optimal level the longest amount of time. And that only happens if you provide it the tools it needs. Have a great day, everyone. And join me again for Cuppa with Michelle next Wednesday, same time. Bye.